welcome to Crimepedia podcast. Whether you're just newly joining us or whether you've been listening since the beginning, welcome. My name's Cherry. This week is my episode, and with me, as always, is my sidekick, my partner in crime, Morgan.
Hello, Cherry. How are
Hello.
you?
I am great, thank you. Very good. Finished jet lag, back in England, back in my own bed, and recovered from CrimeCon.
Yeah, that's the best.
Yes.
So
Very
good.
nice.
It's so good. I got in late on Monday from CrimeCon, and so when I get home in my bed, my bed's full, right? So my daughter decides that she's gonna sleep in my bed as well. So she's right in the middle with all her like stuffed animals, and I'm so exhausted that I just say, "This is my life right now," and I'm just gonna lay here and I am just gonna fall asleep and immediately lay down,
Sleep.
out.
It was a very, very hectic, busy weekend. So sleeping was not on the agenda very much. So I don't think anybody got really, really good night's sleep while we were there. But it was really good. It was excellent. Thank you. If you came to see us, thank you very much for coming to see us. If you came and gave us cases or asked us about cases, thank you very much. We really appreciate that. If ever you've got a case that you'd like us to look at, we do cover cases. We've had quite a few. And this week's case is actually a listener suggested case. So we definitely do look into them when you suggest them. So definitely contact us on Instagram or on our website. Suggest the cases you want us to look at. And if we can help in any way with it, if we think it's going to be something we can do, then we'll definitely do it.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, numerous people. We met a lot of new people.
Yeah.
Everyone
never
we
listened
talked to was
before.
absolutely wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really nice to meet new listeners, really nice to meet our loyal listeners that have been with us for a very long time. So yeah, hopefully there's some new people listening and we've gained some new listeners, and maybe they might listen to our back catalogue and think, oh my God, I was there at that time. You know, you never know, do you?
Yeah,
You never know. They might have information
exactly.
they don't even realize they've got until they listen.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So we've got a few suggestions, which I'll give you at the end of the show today. I've got some suggestions for some other podcasts for you. A lot of people we spoke to had run out of the podcast that they normally listen to and were looking for new suggestions. So I've got some suggestions for you at the end of the show. Some people that we met that were really nice, that have got great podcasts, really good content, and that will be well worth a listen. So I'll do that for you at the end of the show, so that if you don't want to hear it now, you don't have to.
Yep. And if you missed us in Las Vegas for CrimeCon, we will be in London here in a few weeks for CrimeCon UK. So if you are able to make it, if you're in the London area or UK, or if you're brave enough to hop on a 10-hour plus flight from the United States or wherever you're from to come see us, please do.
Yeah, lots of people are buying tickets. So there are still tickets available. And if you want to get yourself a discount off of your ticket, all you need to do is use Crimepedia when you're checking out, and that will give you 10% off of your ticket price as well. So definitely do that. It's worth the 10% because you can spend that in the bar. So it's a great idea.
Absolutely. Well, I am excited for this week's case. So how about we get into it?
Let's go. In 2007, a 14-year-old boy called Andrew Gosden woke up for school. He was irritable. He left home and made his way across a local park to go to school. Only Andrew didn't go to school that day. He boarded a train to London and hasn't been seen since. This is Crimepedia, and this is the disappearance of Andrew Gosden. Okay, so Andrew Gosden was born on July 10th, 1993 in Doncaster, which is in South Yorkshire. So he lived with his parents, Kevin and Glenys, and his sister, Charlotte, who was known to her family as Charlie, and he was really known to the family as Roo. He was an academically gifted kid. I mean, he was 14 years old. He had 100% attendance at school. He was part of the gifted and talented program. He was expected to get all A's in his GCSEs. He was absolutely fantastic at maths. You call it math there, but maths. He actually had won prizes for it, and it was destined to go to Cambridge College. So he was a really smart kid, really, really smart. He was known to be a fan of heavy metal. He loved his video games, and he had been a Cub Scout. But a few months before he disappeared, he had told his dad that he didn't want to be involved with Cubs anymore. I totally understand that. I was a brownie once, and then you get to the point where you just go, you go one of two ways. Either you absolutely love it and you carry on right the way through, or you get to the point where you're like, this is fun, but I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
So Andrew's family described him as a home bird. He never really left the house without saying where he was going. He had mobile phones, but didn't really have much interest in them. He usually lost them. And then when he did lose the last one, his parents offered to replace it, but he said he'd rather have an Xbox. He just wasn't really a sociable kid.
Okay.
He had a small circle of friends. He wasn't really known to socialize outside of school unless it was this small circle. He was quite a shy boy, kept himself to himself. And he wasn't showing any signs of depression, no signs of bullying. He was quite small for his age. And he had this
Yeah.
really it's a very interesting thing. He had a very, very unusually shaped right ear. Now, this detail is as unique as a fingerprint. It's like a double ridge in his ear. I'll put the pictures on our socials so you can actually see it, but it's very, very unique. It's something that if you saw, you would remember that you saw it. I've never, ever seen it on anybody. So it's
Hmm.
definitely something that you would notice. Now, he's also deaf in his left ear. So his right ear is absolutely normal. In face-to-face conversation, you wouldn't notice it. But sometimes, because he can't do stereo, it's noticeable that he turns in the wrong direction or almost like sort of turns full circle to locate a sound because he's deaf in one ear. So you would
Oh,
notice,
okay.
not face to face, but you would notice sometimes if perhaps somebody called him from behind, he might not
Hmm.
necessarily know which way to turn. So it would
I
be quite
gotcha.
noticeable. Another thing about him is that he requires prescription lenses. It's a very strong prescription, which means he needs thin lenses for if you were to wear glasses. They need to be thin because his eyes would be magnified quite big in his glasses because they are very, very strong. So if he's not wearing glasses or lenses, he wouldn't be able to see very far. His vision is really limited. So
Okay.
that is something that you would notice about him personally. He's a highly intelligent boy and tended to speak very, very quickly. He would use quite a lot of comedy quotes and is very, very clever at working out calculations in his head.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was a really, really interesting guy. Now
He
on
to I was gonna say, to me, he just seems like your average 14-year-old kid, right?
yeah,
Which is
just
a
very, very highly intelligent.
very smart
Hmm.
14-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Which is a and it's a 14 is one of those odd years, right?
Yeah.
Ages, right? Where
Yeah.
you're on the cusp of adulthood. So you're
Yeah.
really getting out of childhood and you're like really starting getting embedded into teenage life, and you're on the cusp of becoming a young adult. So
Mm.
it's not a so for some people it's not an easy age,
No.
I would say.
Yeah, it can be quite a confusing age. He was
Yeah.
quite small for his age. He was only 5'3", so he was quite small, and he did look a lot younger than he actually was. So he and in the pictures that I'll put on our socials for you, he does look a lot younger. His dad would say that potentially he could be quite vulnerable at the time. Now, on the 14th of September in 2007, Andrew was 14. He woke up for school. His mum said
Hmm.
that morning he seemed uncharacteristically irritable, which wasn't
Mm.
like him. And he had trouble waking up, which also wasn't like him. He got ready for school. He left at 8:05, and his school was the Macaulay Catholic High School. He walked to school. Sometimes he would take the bus, sometimes he would walk. But he was spotted by a family friend walking across the local park to his usual bus stop. But instead of getting on the bus, he sat on the park bench and waited. Now, I've read that people have sort of said that this could be so that he could wait for the bus to go, wait till his parents definitely left for work, and then he could go back home again. And, we've all done that, where you wait for your mum or dad to go to work and then you go back home again and you can spend the whole day there because they don't get in till like 5:30. So they're never going to know that you didn't go to school. So
Yeah.
that's what, it was. Now, he then left the park, walked to a local garage and withdrew £200 from the cash machine at the garage. Now, he only actually had £214 in the account. So he withdrew nearly all of his money. And the theory
Yeah.
is that he didn't actually withdraw the whole lot because you could only take it out in like 10 or £20 increments. So
Yeah.
there was a reason the £14 was left in there.
Yep.
Then on the neighbour's CCTV, he was seen returning home at 8:30. He changed out of his school uniform into his own clothes, and his family said that he had placed his school uniform into the washing machine. Oh, that is a very well-trained kid.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
teenager did not put stuff in the washing machine. It's usually in the floor drobe. That's where it goes. He was now wearing a Slipknot t-shirt. It's a black t-shirt with Slipknot on the front. He had dark
Mhm.
jeans on, possibly black, but dark jeans. And he had a bag, which had lots of little badges all over it, like
Yeah.
different kind of bands and stuff. He took his
Okay.
wallet, his keys, and his PSP, and was then seen heading down Littlemore Lane towards Westfield Park. He then walked to Doncaster railway station and bought a one-way ticket to London. Now, this ticket cost £31.40, and the ticket seller recalled afterwards that she remembers serving him because the return ticket was only 50p more, but he insisted on having a single ticket. And she thought that was weird. So she actually
Yeah.
remembered serving him. Now,
Um,
and
l- can I can I ask a question about I don't want to say unexplained absences in school in
mhm,
England,
mhm.
but when a student is not in attendance, is there any sort of notifications that go out to
Well,
families?
now there would be, but I'm not quite sure how strict that was in 2007. But I'll explain to you about what happened with the school, because there is a
Okay.
reason that the school didn't alert the parents.
Okay. Okay.
So Andrew's family had said that he didn't take a coat or a jacket with him. So he literally just went in his t-shirt. He left the charger for his PSP at home. So the games console had no charger. He also left his birthday money at home, which was around £100 in cash. So he
Oh,
left the cash at
what?
home.
So he takes out $200 in
Yeah.
cash, but
Mhm.
leaves 100
He leaves
at
100 of his
home.
birthday money that was cash already at home. So he takes £200 out of his bank, but leaves the £100 cash at home.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah, strange. At 9:35 that morning, Andrew was witnessed boarding a train to King's Cross Station. He was on his own, and a woman reported sitting next to Andrew and described him as being quiet and just engrossed playing his video game. Now, when he failed to attend school, the
Hmm.
teachers tried to contact his parents. However, they had either dialed the number of the parents above or below him on the list. So the wrong parents got
Oh.
the message. So Andrew's parents didn't actually get the message to say that he was not at school that day. Somebody else's parents got that
Oh.
message. Yeah.
Oh, that's not good.
No, it's not good, unfortunately. So 11:20, the train arrived at King's Cross. CCTV caught the last confirmed sighting of him leaving the station at 11:25 a.m. Now, that we think is the last time that Andrew was a confirmed sighting of Andrew that was the last confirmed sighting was on the CCTV as he left the station. Now that evening, the Gosdens had a friend over for dinner and hadn't actually given much thought to the fact that Andrew wasn't there because they just thought he was out with a friend, he was next door with a neighbor, or he was, just up in his room. And then when they actually
Hmm.
realized he wasn't there, they telephoned his friends to see like when he was coming home. That was when they found out that Andrew hadn't been at school that day because the friends had said he is not here, but we haven't seen him all day. He hasn't been to school today. So then the
Wow.
parents are
Okay.
like, oh no, what's going on? And I think they would probably feel the
Hmm.
same. Well, why didn't the school phone us? The school thought they had. So it's just a bit of a miscommunication right in the middle there, which kind of delayed things quite a lot,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Now, Andrew's father, Kevin, and his sister, Charlie, walked the route to school that Andrew would normally take. So they're looking for anything that might, explain where he's gone. His friends
Hmm.
have got no idea, and obviously he's got a small circle of friends, so there's not a massive bunch of kids that he could hang out with. So Charlotte and Kevin are just looking everywhere to see what they can see. Absolutely nothing. Couldn't find anything. So they then print out like a make up a missing person leaflet and they start handing that out everywhere. Andrew's family and friends just keep searching and looking until dark, but they found nothing. There was just nothing to find. Now,
Yeah.
3 days later, police were then made aware of the CCTV that was found, and they found that Andrew had travelled to London. He had the confirmation that it was a single ticket, but Andrew's dad said actually the purchase of a single ticket didn't seem strange because Andrew did actually know lots of people in London that he could have visited. So
Okay.
he didn't think that was a strange thing anyway. Now, initial searches of London focused on Chislehurst and Sidcup areas where they have relatives. So that makes
Okay.
sense. Okay. We're going to go for places where Andrew might know, people he might have arranged to go and see. Obviously, yeah, it's a bit strange that he just took off, but that just sort of makes a bit of sense and a good place to start. The police had then been looking at the CCTV from the station and they managed to pick him out. And this is where they managed to zoom in and identify him from the double ridge on his ear. So that was pretty good going,
Okay.
considering
Yeah.
CCTV is quite often rubbish. But I can send you the CCTV so you can have a look at it. It's quite obviously him. You can see it's quite obviously him. Now, one
Okay.
of the theories for Andrew's trip to London was that he travelled to London for a gig. Now, he was big into heavy metal. And the night he disappeared, the rock band 30 Seconds to Mars were playing at the Brixton Academy. And the band
Okay.
Sixth were also playing a rescheduled show at the Carling Academy. Now, this is walking distance from King's Cross Station. So, again, this is a really good theory as to maybe why he would have gone up to London, met up with, other people that were watching bands and stuff, and then come home.
Yeah.
Now, the police, however, struggled to find a reason why Andrew would have gone to London at all. His family and friends said he wouldn't have missed school just to go sightseeing because he had a 100% attendance record at school, which he was proud of, and there must have been a reason that he went to London. He's been there before. He's got family there. It wouldn't be just to go and, I'm going to go and see the sights.
Yeah.
So initially, police had believed that he went to London to meet a friend that he'd met on the internet.
Mm.
But there's very, very little evidence for this because Kevin says that his son didn't use a computer at home. The computer at home was his sister's laptop. She'd only had it for 8 weeks. Andrew had no interest in using it usually. He didn't have any interest in social media because he wasn't really a sociable boy. Investigators sent Andrew's unique serial number of his PSP to Sony. And
Okay.
Sony checked back and made sure what was on there. There was no record of an account being set up, any communication established on the device. The Sony PSP 1000 has got a DNAS authentication system, which means that Sony can see if he has connected to the internet or connected with other people. So they did. They
Okay.
went back and looked on it and there's nothing. So he hasn't been talking on his PSP on the internet. He's got no email address. He didn't have his own email address. So he's,
Cell phone, mobiles.
remember I
So,
said he would lose
oh, he
them.
he lose
He
them.
would lose them.
Oh,
So he didn't have one that he used all the time.
see, because my thought. Okay, I'm thinking now, and I'm thinking about the morning of, right.
Mm-hmm.
You say his mom said that he had a hard time getting up.
Yeah, bit
He
grumpy.
was grumpy. To me, that's like, it sounds like a 14-year-old kid who was just up really, really late.
Yeah, doesn't want to go
So
to
it's like,
school.
don't want to go to school. So then I'm start thinking, okay, well, who is he communicating with that night prior? There has to be
No,
some way he's communicating because I think because if he's meeting up with someone, there has to be something that he's using.
that's if he's meeting up with somebody.
So possibly he's going down to London for a show just on his own then,
Possibly. Yeah,
or
could have been. I mean, he's not really a sociable kid. He's not really the sort of kid that's got lots of friends that he's going off and meeting with. And also, I think sometimes there are people that do like to just do things on their own. I totally get that. There's things that I don't want any fuss with anyone else in. I just want to do it on my own because it's just
yeah.
easier. You don't get fussing about. You don't have to worry about anyone else. You just do your thing.
Okay, I'm trying to decide what sounds more. I don't know him, right? So I
Mm.
mean, all I know is from what you've told me,
Hmm.
and I'm sitting here trying to think what sounds more reasonable to me that he's a kid that would rather go off and do things on his own,
Hmm.
or is he more willing to do something if coaxed into doing it?
Mm.
And he seems like he's possibly introverted a little bit, right? He seems to keep to himself. He has a very small group of friends.
Hmm.
I don't. This is just my assumption. I could be completely wrong, but he doesn't seem like a kid who would just one day wake up and say, you know what, I'm going to go and I'm going to go on this big adventure,
I
and
totally agree.
I'm going to do something that's completely outside of my
Yeah,
character. I'm going to
I
skip
totally agree.
school.
Yep. That seems out of
So
character.
that seems completely out of
Hmm.
characters. But at the same time, I have a hard time believing that he would be able to be coaxed into doing something that is out of character
Mm.
as well. You know?
Hmm. I mean, Andrew's dad had some theories as to why he might have gone to London, and he thought he may have gone to London for something that he thought it was easier to seek forgiveness for than ask permission.
Okay, that's fair.
I get that. I also thought the same thing. He also wondered if perhaps that he had chosen to reinvent himself. Now, Andrew's one of Andrew's favorite TV shows was a TV show called The Fall and Rise of Reginald Perrin, which is about a
Okay.
man who fakes his own death and decides to start a new life. And so Andrew's dad thought perhaps he thought he had done a Reginald Perrin and decided he wanted to reinvent himself. Now, for me, this was something that I definitely also thought, because Andrew's dad said in his heart he thinks that the disappearance was a spur of the moment thing. And whether or not something nefarious has happened to him after he's made that decision, and unfortunately something has happened when he was alone in London, and so he's bumped into somebody who's got bad intentions, his reason for leaving may not have been anything more than I'm going there for a couple of days or a day. I know that seems out of character, but 14 years old, like you said, is a very confusing age for just generally working out who you are, working out your preferences in life, working out, where you fit within society and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And so I wondered straight away if that sort of came to me first, that perhaps this boy is thinking, okay, I don't want to talk to mum and dad about this. I can't really talk to my sister because she'll talk
Yeah.
to mum and dad. So maybe I go and find out the information for myself. So he then decides to go. It's not technically skipping school because there's a reason for him doing it. And I'm wondering whether that is why. He's a very intelligent kid. I'm wondering if he's going up there to experience something, to find out more about something. I mean, London is like the bright lights. London is one of those destinations where anything goes. It's one of those places where you can get anything, you can speak to anyone. It's multicultural, it's bisexual. It's, there's different kinds of people everywhere. You've got,
Yeah.
you've got gay people, you've got lesbian people, you've got transgender people. There's just all different types of people.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
could it be that he was looking for something that wasn't going on in his hometown, or he wanted more information on? He didn't use a computer. He might have read something in a book somewhere or a magazine somewhere, or heard something from kids at school and decided to just check it out for himself, maybe.
Interesting. So here's the thing too. So we just have him on CCTV at
Uh-huh.
King's Cross, right?
Yep.
And we're talking about London,
Yep.
which has CCTV cameras everywhere,
Yep.
and we can't locate them. We
No.
can't. We cannot.
I mean,
We
it's
don't know
2007 as well,
what.
don't forget. I know
Yeah,
that it's everywhere, but it's not possibly, maybe perhaps it's not as easily accessible as today. I mean, we're talking like a long time ago.
because okay, so hypothetically, King's Cross is main station,
Mm-hmm.
but then from King's Cross, if he wants to really go anywhere else in London, he's going to be
Oh my God, King's Cross
taking.
is right. No, you can get to France from the station right across from King's Cross.
Oh,
One of
really?
my family members was actually the station manager when I was growing up, and so King's Cross is like a really good station. Right across from it is St Pancras International, so that you can get to France. You can get all the way across London on the tube anywhere. It's a good. I mean, you can get anywhere from King's Cross and St
Oh, wow.
Pancras, like anywhere.
But I'm
It's
assuming that never. They probably checked cameras for
yeah.
the
Yeah, of
stations
course.
nearby,
Yeah,
but there
we
was
can't
nothing.
find him. Not that I've read that we can't find him. He didn't take his passport either, so we know he didn't go out of the country on his passport. So he didn't take his passport with him.
What's the area like around there?
I don't
King's
know.
Cross.
Well, in 2007, I can tell you what it's like now. It's very, very busy, very busy. It's,
Okay.
it's a huge, St Pancras International is a huge station, absolutely huge. It's got
Mhm.
lots of platforms, thousands and thousands of people a day travel through St Pancras alone. So, I mean, we're talking really busy stations. King's Cross, again, busy station.
Oh, wow. And you have another one. Like, there's 3 stations. Is it Euston?
Houston, yeah,
That's right there.
Houston
Yeah,
is close.
it's right there as well?
Yep. I mean, that's the thing. You can get to anywhere from there.
Wow, okay.
I travel from St Pancras and King's Cross. When I go up to London, it's normally the second stop from where I go. I mean, you can get anywhere. Central London, you can get off down to Kent, you can get out of London, you can get up to the airports, You can get across to France, Dover. I mean, it's easy.
So it could
You
be
can,
anywhere.
yeah, pretty much.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm not sure back then whether St Pancras would have had, really good CCTV on the platform. There's a lot of platforms at St Pancras. There's a lot of
Yeah.
platforms around that area that, there's a lot of trains, buses. You could have got on a bus. I'm not sure whether in 2007 buses were, you could televise on a bus, as now you can. I mean, you can see the cameras in the buses now, but back then, I'm not sure how many buses had cameras on them.
Mm-hmm.
And how sophisticated it was back then. Now, in November 2008, a man went to a police station in Herefordshire in the West Midlands, and it was evening when he went there. And so the staff aren't the desk isn't manned. It's an intercom system. So he went and used the intercom system to talk to a police officer, stating that he had information about Andrew Gosden. By the time
Yeah.
the officer came down and arrived to take the details, the man had left. Now, again, this is where I thought, well, I wonder if there was CCTV in the police station. Obviously not, because they don't mention it. If there is, they
Yeah.
haven't actually made that information public. Now, the police then made an appeal for this guy to get back in touch. Now, also, an individual claiming to be that man at the police station wrote anonymously to the BBC after Andrew's case was featured on the One Show, which is like it's like an early evening show here. It's like a news and kind of, it's like a chat show, but not really. It's more news and media show. It's not as sort of strict and regimented as the news. You have like two people that bring little stories in and they'll chat about it and that kind of stuff. Now, he gave possible details of a possible sighting of Andrew in Shrewsbury in November. And it's not been confirmed yet that it's the same man from the police station that also wrote, but it's thought to be the one. And he didn't say why he didn't wait at the police station.
Yeah.
So that was weird. Now,
Very.
in 2009, in September, the family released an age-progressed image of what Andrew might look like age 16, which was the second year of his disappearance. He would have been 16 years old. So they have released this. Now, also on Andrew's family's website, there is a website. I'm just going to get it up so I can explain to you. So there's a website. It's called helpustofindandrew.weebly.com. Now,
Okay.
on that, as soon as you get on that, you can see a picture of Andrew when he first went missing. He has these little small glasses on. He's got sort of hair that comes over his eyes and a bit long at the back. And they have put age progression pictures on of what he might look when he was a little bit older. You can see the CCTV of him coming out of the station. He's walking on his own. He's not got anybody with him. And they give you quite a lot of information about him on there. So definitely check that out. I will also put that into our show notes and everything so you can have a look. Now, in November of 2009, Kevin Gosden, which is obviously his dad, appealed to the gay community to help find his son. This is what immediately made me think about him going to London. Andrew's family have considered the possibility that he could have been struggling with his sexual orientation. He's 14 years old. It's a very confusing time. Puberty is not a great time for a teenager. Now, children who are gay or lesbian are much more likely to run away than those who are heterosexual. This is a fact. It's there in the facts. Now, Kevin did say we're a very open family. So we've wondered if he was gay or he was struggling with his sexual identity, but found it too awkward to talk to us about. Now, we just want to say that if he is gay, we have no issue with it. He's loved unconditionally by my wife and I and his sister. So in May 2011, the family paid a private company to conduct a sonar search of the River Thames.
Okay.
Using the same technology that's used to locate victims and other items like at sea. Unfortunately, a body was located. But it was found later not to be Andrew Gosden, thankfully. I've got no more information on the body, but there was a body found, and thank goodness it wasn't Andrew. Now, on the 11th of January 2022, so this year, it was announced by South Yorkshire Police that on the 8th of December 21, detective investigating Andrew's disappearance had arrested two men. Now, one was age 38 and one was age 45. They were arrested on suspicion of kidnapping and human trafficking, which made me feel so sick when I read it.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't initially thought of that. And that kind of thing just makes me feel sick and angry, even before you know any information. One of the men arrested was also arrested on suspicion of possessing child pornography. So he's an asshole straight away. Both
Yes.
men had been released under investigation while inquiries continue, but the police have advised that it could take between 6 months and a year to get all the things that they seized from the men pending forensic investigation to be cleared. So we're talking 6 months to a year, happened this January. So we're only just really into the full kind of cusp of the investigation, but fingers crossed they can do something. So that is where we are now. That is believed to be the only and the first arrest made in connection with the disappearance of Andrew Gosden.
I would like to think that is a big moment in the case, but there's a part of me that's pessimistic because how many times have we heard this story where,
I
arrest
hope
is
it's a wrong
made?
turn. I hope it's got nothing to do with them and Andrew whatsoever.
You think?
I hope not.
Oh, you hope not? Okay.
Yeah, I hope that's just unfortunately a coincidence and it's got nothing to do with him. Well, because for his family, what an awful thing to have to consider. The fact that you've lost your son and you don't know where he is bad enough. The fact that then these two people have been arrested and then you see what they're arrested in connection with, as a parent, It makes you sick, really sick, and hope to God that that's got nothing to do with your son's disappearance whatsoever.
He was a 14-year-old boy, and if they're involved, they're
quite obviously sick anyway.
Disgusting.
Exactly.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Quite obviously sick individuals. So hopefully they've got nothing to do with Andrew's disappearance and he is reincarnated himself somewhere and that he will be reunited with his family when he's ready. That's what I hope has happened.
Yeah.
We all hope there's a really good outcome for it because, that's the thing.
Do you think, but if he went and reinvented himself it's been what, 14 years?
Mm-hmm.
14 years of, at some point you have to wonder, like, oh, I wonder what my, parents are, what's going on with my parents. And especially if dad's coming out and saying, hey, we support him with whatever is going on with them. What is it going to, it's hard for me to believe that he could go that long without, feeling some sort of remorse
but you don't know.
Leaving,
you don't know. He might have ways of checking in on his family. It's happened, hasn't it? It's happened. That's where people do check back in on family members without them even realizing. I was convinced that this is what happened in the Brian Schaefer case, that he knew what was going on. He was away and was checking in on his family, hence why things were written in his dad's memorial book when his dad was killed and things like that. So I think you just, as a human, and as a parent especially, I think you kind of have to have some sort of hope that,
No, absolutely.
he's there somewhere and that he's okay and that he's maybe checking in on his sister. Now social media is a thing. Perhaps that's how he checks in on his family, that kind of thing. I don't know. I hope that that's what it is. I hope that nothing sinister has happened to him.
No, absolutely not.
And I hope that he gets, gets back in touch with his family and puts them. It's hard to think that somebody could let their family go through the anguish and the torment that they're going through, that they're missing him so much. And it's hard to think that. I've got a letter on the website. There's a letter to Andrew from his family. And I want to read this to you because just in case Andrew is out there somewhere and he comes across the podcast by searching his name and he hears our podcast and is thinking, oh, I'm going to go and listen to what they think happened to me. This is a letter to Andrew from his family. This is not a private letter. This is something that's on the website. It says, Dear Andrew, we've all missed you so much since the day you left. Not a day goes by that you're not in our minds constantly. You were always so witty, polite, and caring and intelligent that we desperately miss your company. The same is true of all your friends and the thousands of people that have prayed for you and helped us search for you. If you should ever read this, forget about any water under the bridge and please have no fear about making contact with us. We do not care where you have been, what lifestyle you chose for yourself. We only want to know that you're safe and well and to help and support you if we can. We remain as proud of you as we have always been and love you deeply. All our love, Dad, Mum and Charlie. So I just wanted to read that, because I think that if he's there somewhere and he gets to hear this by looking up his name, then that would be a really good thing to be able to, to be able to do. Now, the other thing that I've been in contact with Andrew's dad, and he says that there are a few things things to look out for. One was the unusually shaped ear. The other is the fact that he might move his head around to hear you, because that's something that's not going to change as he gets older. It's not something that's going to get better. The lenses was another thing. Now, they did do an age progressed images in 2018, doing his likely appearance at 25. So go and check it out. I'm going to put it all on our social media. Check out the pictures. It may well be that this is like a neighbor of yours who's called something else, and you may look at it and think, oh my God, that's Bob. He works in the factory that I work in. It looks just like him. It's one of those things that it just takes the right person to see that could help open this case up. Now, he speaks very quickly. He uses a lot of comedy quotes in his conversations. He could well have an incomplete backstory about his life, no history, little or no access to like bank accounts, national insurance, passports. There could be that sort of problem. So he could just be, traveling around within England. There is one short piece of CCTV footage which shows how he walks. Now, it's not the greatest thing, but he says that gait doesn't change significantly as you get older, unless you've had an accident or an illness or something. The way that you walk tends to be the same way you'll walk as an adult. So check that out. Just have a look. There is footage online. It's been 15 years now 14, 15 years that these people haven't seen their child for. And we need to make sure, from a request from Andrew's father, that any potential information should be submitted to missing people. And this is on 116000. Don't post it online. Just send it to the missing people. Contact Andrew's family. His dad's email address is on the website, because there could be that it could scare someone off if you post it online. I've read so many different threads on things like Reddit and Web Sleuths, what could have possibly happened. And I don't personally think that's helpful, because it's just leading people different ways. I think if you have any suspicions, you see the pictures and you think that could be so-and-so, I really think that the good thing is go to the Missing People helpline, go to missingpeople.org.uk, go to Andrew's dad's website, helpfindandrew.weebly.com. Go and look at that go and look at all the information. There is so much information on there. And as we were talking earlier, understandably, people are mystified about this and what could have happened to Andrew. But just bear in mind that this is someone's son, this is someone's family. This is someone that they're missing, really, really missing them. And just be a bit kind with your observations, with your your theories and thoughts about what could have happened to him, bearing in mind that if Andrew's dad is online reading this kind of stuff, sometimes those theories and thoughts are not helpful, unless you've got something that's really, really a good thing to say, or it's a helpful thing to say. Perhaps keep it to yourself. That's what struck me like most about this, is that this family is desperate to find out. It's been hell for them not knowing where their son is. I mean, you lose your kid in a supermarket for like 20 seconds and it's like your stomach just drops out and you panic. I mean, imagine having that and not knowing for like years.
I couldn't imagine.
No.
I could not imagine.
No.
Just every day you wake up just hoping, like some news, right?
I mean, you must search when you go out. You must search crowds. There must be people that look like him that you think, oh my God, is that him? Oh my God, is that him? It must be a daily torment for his mum and dad and his sister. So there are posters. You can go onto the website. There are posters. I'm going to put them onto our website. I'm going to put them onto our Instagram. I'm going to put them onto our Facebook. There are posters that you can download. Share them. Just share them on your social media. If every person shares from another friend, this could go all over the world. So just share the pictures. I've got age progression pictures for you to share. We've got all his characteristics you can share. And hopefully someone will notice it. It's happened before. It happened with our Mostly Harmless case, where this guy was discovered. And if you haven't listened back, go back and listen to the episode. A guy was discovered. Nobody knew who he was. And it took a Facebook post. Somebody shared a Facebook post. And then his family of friends came forward and they were able to then put their family member to rest. So social media can be used for such good things. And I hope that in this case, social media can be used to bring Andrew and his family back together.
I really hope this is a case where he felt like he had to leave to discover himself rather than him being drawn there by someone who saw a vulnerable 14-year-old boy to take advantage of him.
Yeah, I hope so too. I really hope so. There's a Facebook page dedicated to Andrew, so check it out. There's a Twitter page, which is at Andrew_Gosden, Gosden. And there's also the website, like I said, helpustofindandrew.weebly.com. And I'll put those all on our socials so you can click through them. And I'll put pictures up of Andrew as well. And then you can have a look, and hopefully someone will hear it and someone will be able to help his family.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that for you is this week's case.
Well, thank you very much. It's wonderful as always.
I think it's going to be another one. I think it's going to be another one that goes on to my list of cases I won't be able to forget. Cases that I'm going to keep checking back on and keep checking up on.
At least there's some sort of news that possibly is connected to it that's come out. It's tough when you get these cases and it's been 14 years, whatever, and there's just nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. And even if the rest of the two men, what were they, 30 and 45, even if it has nothing to do with Andrew, at least you got two, really shitty people off the streets.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And hopefully, even thanks to them, the detectives searching for Andrew, they've discovered this and hopefully saved a lot more children from, even if it's got nothing to do with Andrew at all. His case has saved a lot more children from being involved with these nasty people, although they have been let out on bail, which is not great.
I don't understand. I would not.
It's the legal system, isn't it? What can you do?
I know. Yeah, I know.
There's a lot that's not very easy to explain, to be honest.
It's like we have here in Columbus. It's been a few years. It might have been 2 years ago. One of our local weather people, meteorologists, was arrested on like child pornography charges, and they had like thousands of images.
That's just not an oops, I clicked on the wrong thing, is it?
No, it's not.
Not at all.
No. I mean, it was like a daily occurrence of downloading it like on work computer everywhere. Well, he was, I think he came to a plea deal, and I feel like it was just like maybe a few months ago where he was asking the judge for leniency and to be like released because jail was too rough for him or something along those lines. Could you imagine?
I would. I'd love to be a judge. I'd just sentence all of those people to death every time. Seriously, I would. Sorry. Gallows. Off you go.
But can you imagine
how would you have the audacity and come, it's too rough for me in prison? I'd be like, shut your face and get back into prison. Yeah. Get back in your cell, you loser. Get back in prison.
Exactly.
Where you belong.
Exactly.
Oh.
You should have thought about that. Should have thought about it before you became, decided to be a creep.
Yeah, exactly. And what about all the children that had no say in what you were doing? You sick individual. Exactly. No.
Exactly.
Don't even get me started on that kind of thing.
I know.
I'll be mad ranting at you for about 20 minutes. Yeah. I don't know anybody that can stand in defense of somebody accused and proven to be actually carrying out that kind of stuff. No. You can't convince me that there's any reason why they're doing that.
I know. I mean, yeah.
That's a whole nother episode. It's a whole nother episode.
It's how hard would it be though to be a defense attorney in those cases?
I have a very good friend who is a police officer that works in that field, and we're both in agreement. We both have the same. We both have. Her goal is to put those people behind bars. That's what she does. That's her job, and I take my hat off to her how she does that job, because that is a job I could not do.
No.
I know I couldn't do that job. It's a very hard, very traumatic job.
It would change you.
It does. Yep.
Systematically change who you are as a person.
It does. And it changes everything you can't be the same after that. Think. It's disturbing. There are, she's had counselling because of the things that she's seen. it's something that nobody should have to do. That should not be a job.
No.
It's horrible.
It really is.
So, after a very difficult case, let's lighten the mood as we do. If you've never listened to this show before, at the end of the show, obviously we deal with very sensitive, very serious matters. And a lot of listeners have said to us they like a light-hearted ending to the show. And so we developed something called Dumb Criminal, which people find hilarious. It gives you a bit of a smile at the end of the show and reminds you that the world isn't all bad.
Hey, use a dummy and use a piece of shit.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you, Captain. All right, Sherry. So let's say that you really, really, really wanted a specific car, right?
Okay. Yep.
You did
a Mustang.
What would be okay? Mustang.
Oh,
you want a
Mustang.
Right?
I would like a green metallic Mustang. That would be the car I would buy.
Okay. So I would assume if you were going to get a Mustang, you would go and you would get a loan. You would work hard to get the car you wanted, right?
Yeah.
Well, for a man in Oklahoma, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, a man by the name of Randy Cantwell, he decided that he wasn't going to take the usual route of acquiring the car that he wanted. Okay. So Randy decided to show up at a car dealership in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and claimed he was a federal marshal and tried to drive away in one of the cars on the lot.
Okay.
Okay.
This sounds like a solid plan.
Oh, brilliant plan. So he arrived at the dealership, which was located in the south part of the city, and expressed interest in buying an Audi there. Okay. Now, with keys in hand, a worker reportedly told Randy he took him over to see the car, but explained that he wasn't able to take the car out for a test drive because the vehicle wasn't prepped to drive.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, this is where things started to churn a little weird. Now, police would say that Randy Cantwell told the employee that the car was stolen and that he was a federal marshal and that he was leaving with the car.
Oh, God. This is not very well thought out, is it?
No.
Did he get like a little serial card, like FBI badge out or something? And like,
I don't even think he had that. Now, the quick thinking workers in the lot, they quickly moved other cars to block him in to the lot, which forced Randy Cantwell to ditch the car and try to walk off the lot. Police would arrive on the scene and say that the only ID that Randy Cantwell provided was his driver's license, meaning it didn't appear that he was a federal marshal after all.
Oh, an idiot.
But despite this, Randy did tell officers that he became a federal marshal after Donald Trump declared martial law while president.
Oh, come on. What an idiot. Please tell me they arrested him. And he
was arrested.
Good.
Yes. He was arrested. He was arrested for false impersonation of law enforcement.
Good. There should be like a stipulation that like they could actually just arrest you for being a dumbass. I'm arresting you, sir, under section 46 of being an absolute dumbass.
Oh my God.
Off to jail you go.
I need this Audi because it was stolen. I am a federal marshal.
And then I'm going to go and
Donald
steal it.
Trump.
Yeah, drive it around. And then what? Like, what possible outcome could you have from this? You idiot.
Yeah.
Silly man.
So it's like, Randy, if you wanted the Audi, just get a car loan.
That's right.
Man.
Yeah, save up, Randy. You know, you can't just steal it and ride off into the sunset with your lovely new car. It doesn't work like that. Otherwise, we'd all be doing it.
Can you imagine if it worked? Like, oh, okay, here you go.
Yeah, that's right. I have the keys. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you for letting us know that this car was stolen. Unbelievable.
Oh, dear. Well, I did promise you that I would give you some, if you're still listening, I did promise I would give you some recommendations from CrimeCon for your listening pleasure. First one, Music City 911. That is a good friend of ours, Brandon.
Yes.
Brandon's from Tennessee. It's a great podcast. He is a 911 dispatcher and he has real life 911 calls that he kind of talks about. He goes over, he explains. Really interesting podcast. I've been listening to the back history of it. It's really good. The second one I want to highly recommend to you is a funny podcast. It is Santa May Be a Criminal. It's by our very good friend Jason. It's very funny. It's the kind of podcast that you can just sit and truck along to. It's kind of like, it's a story, really. It's a story. There are voices on there that you'll definitely recognize if you're a podcast lover. There are lots of different podcasters that are involved in this because, to be fair, anyone who's anyone wants to be on this podcast. Trust me, he's got so many people lined up on this pod. It's brilliant. Season 2 is on its way in production, and it's going to be brilliant. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. So definitely check out that one. The other one is our friend Sarah. And Sarah has literally got lots of podcasts, but they're all brilliant, mostly focused on con artists. And she does a brilliant podcast with her friend Catherine, who is in the FBI. Very knowledgeable woman, very nice lady. So check out her. So she's got Con in the Con. She's got all different ones. Clueless, which is a new one.
Clueless is a new one.
Yeah.
And it's spelled KLOUGH. LISS.
Yes. Yeah. So definitely check out that one. But if you just check out Con in the Con, the rest of it you'll find them all because they're all on there. She's from New Zealand. She's our resident Kiwi. She's a lovely lady, and her podcast is absolutely brilliant.
Yes.
And I think that's my recommendations for this week. Oh,
Those are really
I'll tell you what else I need to
recommendations.
recommend for you. Tuesday night, which is what are we now? Is today the 8th? Hang on. What are we today? The 8th.
10th. It's
so
Tuesday.
On the 10th, if you check out CrimeCon UK's Instagram, I think it's 8:00. There is a Instagram live hosted by Nancy, who is basically Lady CrimeCon UK, and she will be speaking to an author about her latest book. Now, I've read this book this week, and it'll blow your mind. It is a crazy book. It is very, very good. If you've ever heard of The Teacup Poisoner, you'll know what I'm talking about. But check out Nancy's live on Tuesday. It's absolutely brilliant. So if you love books, it's a good book to read. Or you can download it on Audible if you want to listen to it. It's brilliant. And she's going to be talking about it and talking to the author about it, and you will love it. It's really good. So check that out as well. And that's my recommendations for this week.
I have one recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually probably the hottest book at CrimeCon this year.
It's the best book. It's the best book I've read in a long time.
Sold out on Friday.
Yep.
It's a book by our good friend LaDonna Humphreys. It's The Girl I Never Knew, which is available for sale now.
Mm-hmm.
We spoke with her during our live show at CrimeCon in Las Vegas, and we will be speaking with her again in London for a live show.
The book is that good. I read it in like 28 hours, I think it was. It's so good.
That's amazing.
It's such a good book. You can't put it down. So if you do get it, I've seen on Instagram people that started it on the flight home from CrimeCon and were totally engrossed. It's a brilliant, but not just because she's my friend. It's a brilliant book. And one thing I would love to point out about that book is that the proceeds from it go to a charity. And it goes to the charity to help fund things like DNA processing and testing and things like that for victims of crime. So not only are you buying the book, but you're also contributing to a very, very worthy cause. And hopefully it will spread the word about Melissa's case, and somebody will have some information, and this will get this thing solved and get justice for Melissa.
Yeah. And I love LaDonna.
She's lovely.
She's wonderful.
She really is.
Wonderful.
So that's this week's episode for you. Thank you for joining us. If you are a new listener, welcome. If you are an old, long-term listener, thank you for bearing with us and for still being here listening. We'll be back next week. Next week's a different case. It's going to be a joint case from the two of us. It's a solved one, but it's a very interesting case. We've got a lot of interviews in it. So there's a lot of not footage, but there's a lot of stuff that you can hear. We've got interviews with some detectives on a case that's very close to our hearts. So we'll be back next week for that one. So for now, be nice.
And bye.